Hello and welcome to today's video as we cover the top 80 carry prospects in Lol Esports Tier 2. Keep in mind, I have not watched any of these players play any games outside of Smash playing the games he played this season. Um, Otherwise, I've never seen anybody play. And that's what makes Smash's stat line really incredible. I think we talked about it yesterday with somebody. Pangyan, I think, in particular, just has a crazy stat line. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's because playing a ton of games at the Tier 1 level and still coming away with a stat line that is just as good as those that didn't even play that great of players. Now, this is 100% based off of stats because, like I said, I haven't watched any of them play. The 80 carry role to me is, the last letter, C, carry, right? Hard carry in particular is definitely my preference. I think a utility role is certainly valuable. There are players that can do a utility role better than others. You think of historically a Ghost, a Guma, a Deft, the last couple years, towards the end of their careers, towards the end of Deft's career. Guma I think 2023 Worlds in particular was a great utility weak side performance in my opinion. But otherwise, I prefer more of the Uzi look and say, hey, well, 25% of the team's gold, and then what do you do with it? Now, in this meta, and Ruler, I think, has said it, somebody shared it in my Discord, that he believes the 80 carry role is kind of useless right now. It's in a bad spot. You don't even feel like you're carrying anymore. And I think the stats do indicate that, especially at the Tier 2 level. We had nobody that had more than 10 CS per minute that reached my, criteria of being 21 or younger. And then not only that, I had to dig very deep even to get to 9.5. There were only a handful of players that even had 9.5 CS per minute. And, is it the end-all, be-all of an 80 carry? No, but like every other role I've said, CS per minute is the easiest and most reliable way to get gold. It's just how it is. Kills are not, guaranteed all the time. But that farm is going to keep coming, and you better keep getting last hits. Now, after that, I look at share differential. Nobody at the 80 carry role, there's usually one or two 80 carries a year in Tier 1 that have a negative share differential, and those teams usually stink. Players should not, an 80 carry should not have a negative share differential, and I didn't have to eliminate anybody for that, but share differential is something else I consider. And then gold difference, XP difference, I did take into account players that may have had negative gold difference and XP differences and took their supports into account because maybe the support is stealing some of that XP or gold. In the end, I didn't end up including them, but there were a couple players that did get near that line. Regardless, though, these are the players I have. So in LEC, we have Strode, Zamulek, Afribi, and Tongi. Tongi played in Brion's academy system in the LCK. So he has a Korean academy background in terms of coming up through the system and development path. In LTA, we have Sahed and Akawa. Both of them LTA North and then LTA South. So we have two players from the West in that category. Harki of Vietnam had a great split on Team Secret. And then in terms of LCK, About and Smash, and both have had very different seasons and really last couple of years. So About played on ED. He definitely played. He kicked around in the LDL system. So he came up through the Chinese development system. I believe on EDG Thunder Talk and Ultra Prime. I could be wrong, but I feel like he may have been part of all three of those systems. And that is indicative of his stat line. His stat line actually does scream to me LPL a bit. Now, Smash, on the other hand, a very similar stat line, but different. There's a different way of looking at Smash. Smash is a player a couple years ago that I thought was very good. Last year, is 2022. He's still very young. I mean, he's only 19 years old. I remember him at 16, so it had to have been 2022 where he did very well. And then dropped off in his next season. Last year, playing with Reckless, kind of overshadowed everything, but learning and developing alongside, like, hell, you're on T1, so you have world champion roster above you that you're getting an opportunity to play against and scrim against at times, I'm sure, and do 2v2s, etc. But then also playing alongside one of the best Western AD carries of all time in Reckless, a very, very good player, one of the very few players that even was considered at his peak to be a player that may go to the East in the LPL, or, well, actually, I think it was the LPL at the time that there were some rumors that was a thought. And even the fact that it was a thought is something that you see very seldomly in the LOL Esports spaces for a Western player to go East. I mean, you see hell, we just saw the first import in the LCK this season with LazyFeel on DRX. And then you consider, and hell, Shadow is playing in the LPL, right? And technically, I think he is a European import into the LPL on BLG right now. So that is a thing as well. But learning from Reckless is huge. Also, I believe it was an AD carry support meta at times last year, Ashe in particular. Champions like this are only going to help Smash if he gets to see Reckless playing them as well, for sure. So Smash is obviously very good, and he proved that at the tier 1 level. I think Guma is still better, but that's not a shot at Smash. I think Guma's a top 5 AD carry in the world. Excuse me, and currently the best weak side AD carry in the world when the meta calls for it. So Smash, that's a tall tale well, not a tall tale, but a tall standard to meet. So in terms of KDA, Sahed had a great one at 7.4, Smash over 5, Tongi over 5. Kill participation, you see that the two LCK, CK support 80 carries in About and Smash, both above 70%. Their team's clearly fighting around them. And then we have Afrib, 75%, 3 out of every 4 kills. Farm, About, nearly 10 at 9.8. We have a few 9.7s on there. That is pretty standard for the better 80 carries in the world. They're getting farm, and then what are they doing with it? That's notable. We look at the next category, ROI, damage divided by gold, and we see that. 1.8 for About. That is very aggressive. And you see, oh, well, there's Zamulek at 1.86 and Tongi at 1.83. Yes, but they have less farm, so it's easier theoretically without having GPM up here because they could have gotten kills to match the GPM. But let's just think off the basic CS per minute for a moment. To have more farm means have more gold, right? And then you look and you say, well, ROI is higher, so he obviously has more damage. He's dealing more damage relative to gold, and he is getting more gold from farm. That is what makes it more impressive. About is a very good player. I expect him to get an opportunity next year in the LCK. I really do believe he should be on that short list of players that should be considered for an LPL spot. Obviously, his history with LPL orgs is self-explanatory. Even in the West, I think teams should consider him. I think he's had a great season. And that's not to say Zamulek or Tongi are not also in that conversation. It's just, I think About is better than them statistically. In the share differential, 4.2, Afrib 5%. That's good. That means they're showing more of, they're a bigger part of the team's damage, right? That 24% of gold is turning into 29% of damage, and that is a tier 1 carry, A carry on a team, versus, oh, well, if you look at, like, I don't know, Strode, 1.7%. Well, he's got 9.7 CS per minute, and he's only dealing maybe second tier B carry like numbers on his team. So why is he getting so much gold if he's not the one dealing the damage? Especially in the AD carry position. Vision efficiency, this is obviously going to really be affected by Ashe because Ashe is an AD carry. So if they played a good amount of Ashe, it's going to help the vision score category. Harky, very good at 3.66, well-placed vision. Gold difference, XP difference, everybody is ahead. Aqua in the bottom is barely ahead, but he is ahead. Therefore, he's on the board. If he was behind, he would not be. Smash had 333 gold, and that includes his T1 time. I'm just going through my Hall of Fame stuff now, trying to get the numbers for this season. And Smash was the third rated AD carry in the LCK during LCK Cup, which is something to really consider when we're thinking about Smash and whether he should even be fucking in Tier 2. It's kind of overkill, but I don't think he should be starting over Guma. Still to this day, I think that was just them taking LCK Cup lightly. Guma maybe taking it lightly, and them trying to light a fire under his ass to make him perform and play. But I don't think that ever was going to be what's best for the team. Solo kills, Zamulek, 0.35. 1 out of every 3 games, he's getting a solo kill, which is pretty impressive for an AD carry. That shows a lot of aggression, and it's represented in the ROI as well, dealing a lot of damage. Because, hell, a lot of players saw it, it's under 1 out of every 10 games. Much lower. Maybe once every other series is getting a solo kill, if not 1 out of every 3 best of 5s. Champions played, Sahed, Harky, both. 1 in every 3 games. 1 in every 3 games playing something different that he hasn't played yet this season. More Smash and About. They've played a lot of games, like 100, 110, 120 games this season. So that's going to affect things. Just consider in the champions played, that is going to affect things. You only play so many different things. There's probably only I think the most maybe played by anybody was 20 champions on this board. So that is a thing. But in my opinion, there are a lot of nice names on this list. Players I think I've mentioned before. I think I've mentioned Zamulek before, and I know I've talked about Smash. And these guys deserve a longer look this offseason. Maybe if they're in an ERL, maybe they get boosted to a better one. Maybe they get on one of those bottom tier LEC teams. The fact that Kadui is on a team, no shot to Kadui, but I would probably rather have one of these LEC 80 carries or any of these 80 carries over Kadui, just as an example. So that's it. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.